Okay, this lesson is on goals, or otherwise titled, What the heck am I doing in this life? Well, if you're going to answer the question, what are you doing in this life, then that means you have goals. So in the previous lessons, we've talked about making decisions to get towards goals. Well, this lessons, we're going to talk about the goals that one might strive for. And in future lessons, we will talk about how to achieve the goal of financial stability, because that goal deals mostly with economics. So here's the vocab that we will go over and use in this talk. Number one, financial stability. I define it, this is my definition, having enough money to provide one's family with the acceptable necessities through expected times and unexpected times. If you can do that, you are my definition of financially stable. Every single word is specifically chosen. Okay, I choose money. I could choose resources, but typically it's money. To provide one's family, whatever you consider your family, okay? Because very few people are an island unto themselves, and most people have responsibilities that extend to other people, and I would include that as your family. So, to be stable, you should have enough money to provide for those in your circle you consider family with acceptable necessities, food, shelter, water, clothing of the level of acceptability without parasites and without clothing that'll keep you from frostbite, acceptable necessities. Through the expected times, that one, even people have trouble even doing that one through the expected times. But what about the unexpected times? The times where things aren't going your way. To be truly financially stable, there should be an unexpected disaster, something that happens once every 10 years. And when that thing happens every 10 years, you should be okay through it. And if you are okay through it, you are financially stable. The term standard of living, a measure of overall quality of life. This is an economic term. And it's used to say, okay, usually it's used to say one country has this standard of living, one country has this standard of living, let's compare them. So it's basically take all the levels of necessity, things like education, like healthcare, like food, how obtainable is it for some people's, and how much do they have to work to get at higher education? How much do they have to work to get food that's not filled with parasites? What kind of healthcare is available? And this would all come together to some sort of nebulous, non-exact thing called standard of living. You can't exactly, but if you're not living how you really want, it's probably a lower standard of living. If you're looking around on a personal level, if you're looking around and everyone else is living better, you probably have a lower standard of living. If you're looking around and everyone else has it worse than you, you probably have a higher standard of living. Take that to the average of countries and you can see how we use standard of living. There's no exact number for it. Long-term goals. I define long-term goals as a state of being, a desired state of being. A long-term goal is not getting the PlayStation 5, okay? You don't exist with a PlayStation 5. You exist with happiness. You exist being fulfilled spiritually. You exist in a state of bodily health and strength. Those existence, those states of being are what I consider long-term goals that people try to get to. And they are achievable. Okay, this is not some sort of made-up utopia that we are trying to get to as a country, saying we're going to get better, and we're going to reach utopia someday. No. That can never be reached. That is not a state of being that can be reached. You being healthy is a state of personal being you can reach. You being educated enough. And I guess you put that word enough in. A long-term goal is a desired state of being where you exist enough for your own ideas and happiness. Now, a short-term goal are those steps that you use to get to your long-term goals, okay? Short-term goals are think about the steps. There's your example. Your goals are the floors of a house that you would like to be on, and your short-term goals are the steps of the stairs you need to ascend and conquer to get to the next long-term goal, which is a floor. Here's the part of the lecture where if you want to play along, you can pause the video and come up with a list. Come up with a list of all the long-term states of being that you want to achieve. I already gave you an example such as healthy. That's a long-term goal, a state of being that you would like to get to. Try to come up with a list of states of being that you want to get to. I'll give you two: health and to be happy. Well, what other kind of big long-term goals can you think of? Okay, did you come up with 8 or 10? Because you know what? Sky's the limit. Maybe you should try to go for 8 or 10 long-term goals. Maybe you should try to be the best you can be. Why limit yourself? The worst you can do is fail, and the best that can happen is you achieve it. So let's go over some of the long-term goals that we've come up with over the years. Number one, like I said, is health. A healthy body is an important body, okay? You don't understand how much you like your health until it's not there. And one of the whether it's cruel or not, one of the facts of life is that younger people don't usually have the same health issues as older people. So, point being of many of these goals, they change in importance. As you age, the relative importance of these goals tend to change, okay? So when you're young, many people on average wouldn't say their health is a very big goal, but talk to an 70 or 80-year-old as they're moving forward, and they're going to tell you that the health is a huge goal, okay? We talked about happiness. This is a very nebulous goal because happiness means many different things for different people. And I would say that happiness is not actually a great long-term goal. I mean, no one has defined concretely what reaches happiness and how to get to happiness. And I think the best you can do is when you look into it, when you reach a certain level of other goals, you exist as happy, okay? Happiness might be a byproduct of reaching other long-term goals, but whatever, we'll pull it in as a long-term goal. Spiritual fulfillment. Many people spend years trying to find the goal, fulfill the goal of spiritual fulfillment. A sense of purpose. This has been studied, and the sense of purpose seems to be a worthwhile goal that people like to try to achieve, and it's actually one of the more powerful goals that when people achieve it, they reach this quote-unquote happiness. Okay, so sense of purpose is pretty big. I say it's as an effective body or sport in the sense that your body is useful. Now, let's put in some things like being strong or being good at sports in the sense that you want to do with what you never want your body to be a limitation. Okay, so this could be fitness in here. It is the truth that some people wish to be really popular as a long-term goal or very social. Now, those are not necessarily the same, but some people's goal is to be around other people a lot of the time, and other people's are more lonely or solitary, i.e. myself, okay? So my goal is to not be around people. The exact opposite, I should write that down. But most people, their goal is to be around people, and some people's goal is to just gain popularity. Okay, perhaps a long-term goal is to make a difference. Now, this could be make a difference in a small way or make a difference on a larger village, city, state, world level, okay? But just to, in general, make a difference. Some people's goals are to literally change the world. Every single year, a couple people change the world. A couple people change the whole darn river of history. A couple people every single year. So what are your chances? If that's one of your goals, a couple out of 8 billion, go for it. You can do it. Some people's goal is to change the world. Some people go for greatness or fame. They usually go together, but they're not the same. Often you can be great. You could be the best at something, okay? You can have this greatness, and often sometimes with it comes fame, and sometimes you're just famous and you're really useless. Sometimes you're not great at all, but you are famous. But usually if you're great at something, you have some level of fame. Some people's goal is to be rich and wealthy. Rich and wealthy, stinking rich and wealthy, that's proven to not really reach this idea of happiness, but it's a goal, and I'm not going to say don't do it. If that's what you want to chase, chase it, man, chase it. Goal of financial stability, you might have got that because we defined it in the vocab. So I am going to focus on this later, hence the star next to it. Financial stability is probably one of the most important goals on here. Some people's goal is a family, to have and to enjoy and to have a good family. Some goals is to just enjoy life, pleasure, to have pleasure and fun is a goal. And finally, to be educated or wise, okay? To be a level of brain power where you know things, or at least you are wise in an area and you can make good decisions because you have that kind of brain power. And these are the major that we've come up with long-term goals. Now, the short-term goals, now these are the little things that you do, the steps that you do to get to your long-term goals. Like, for example, if I were to take my long-term goal as health, well, I've got to create a lot of different little short-term goals. Like, I've got this goal of cardio. You got to do cardio 3 times a week. Otherwise, you're not going to have health eventually, okay? You've got to have a healthy diet. It can't just be Mountain Dew and Taco Bell, okay? That works in your teens and your early 20s. But if you want this goal of long-term health, it can't be order late night from Taco Bell. Oh, I should put some sleep in there too. You gotta lift some weights, okay? You're not really healthy if you're a weak noodle. You can't be healthy if you're a weak noodle. All you are is pasta for dinner, okay? You gotta lift some weights to have some semblance of strength. Otherwise, you ain't healthy. And that stress is a killer. So you gotta do some de-stress, usually like some sort of meditation or something to de-stress yourself. Even if it's a video game of meditation, that would be pretty good. They actually have an app for that. Every single goal on this page, every single thing, there's an app for it. Whether it works for you or not, I don't know. But there's an app for that. So these are all your short-term goals. Meditate twice a week. Lift 3 times a week. Count your fiber and all your healthiness and your vitamins and stuff like that. These are short-term goals that if you do them and achieve them, you are on your way to your long-term goal of health. Now, short-term goals should be SMART. They should be specific. Cardio 3 times a week for 20 minutes. Measurable. How much fiber am I getting? Attainable. I can definitely lift twice a week. Relevant, okay? Reducing stress is relevant to getting better health. And T is time bound, okay? You got to do some things within a couple weeks. You have to reach your tiny little steps. If you want to run a 5-minute mile, well, the first year you're going to try to get to 6 minutes. In the second year, you're going to try to get to 5 minutes, 30 seconds. You're going to try to put time goals on your short-term goals. You don't put time goals on your health or your happiness or your spiritual fulfillment. You don't know when you're going to get there. You don't know when these are going to be achieved. You do know when your little steps towards the big ones are going to be achieved. So all your short-term goals are SMART. Let's take financial stability. See, if I went to you and said, just be financially stable, just be rich, have a great family, you sit there and go, I don't know what to do. That's why you have your short-term goals. It's so very simple. Guess what? You want to be financially stable? Do your short-term goals. Emergency fund, side hustle, extra income, budget your money, put in your retirement account, and get a good, strong paying job. You do your short-term goals and your long-term goals happen automatically. So I guess, and I'm thinking in a big way, these long-term goals, they're not hard. Oh, I want to have an effective body. I want to have a sense of purpose. That's not hard. The hard part is knowing the short-term goals it takes to get your long-term goals. That's what people don't know. It's not that they don't know how to be spiritually fulfilled. It's that they don't know the little steps to take to achieve spiritual fulfillment. These short-term goals are just as important as the long-term goals. Without the long-term goals, you're directionless. Without the long-term goals, you're directionless. And without the short-term goals, you can't progress anywhere. You're useless. Direction, usefulness. These tell you how to get here. These make you get here. Knowing where you want to be, important. They're both important. So in this course, I'm going to talk a lot about financial stability, okay? And you may ask, oh, so why do we care so much about financial stability? Why are you always saying it's important? Why do you always say we have to do this to be financially stable? Well, for a few reasons. Number one, this course is called Applied Economics. So the literal course is economics. So, quite frankly, out of all these long-term goals that I think might be important in people's lives, pretty much economics fits into financial stability the most. You think I can't help on spiritual fulfillment? Sure I can. I was a minor in religious studies. You think I can't help on having an effective body or being in sport? I'm the New York State champion for curling for light old people. You think I can't help you in figuring out how to have the goal of fun? Well, you're right. I'm no fun. I can't help you on that quite at all, okay? But this is an economics course, so we focus on financial stability. You know, money can't guarantee that you achieve your other goals, okay? Money can't buy you spiritual fulfillment, but lack of financial stability can prevent or make harder the other goals. It's real tough to be de-stressed and enjoy your family when you don't have enough financial stability and your children are sleeping on beds infested with bed bugs. It's hard to achieve health when you can't afford the things that help you make health. It's when you're working too much and you have that much stress. Oh my gosh, what's the number one cause of stress in life? Lack of financial stability. So having a lack of financial stability can prevent or make harder achieving your other goals. And if you have financial stability, it makes it easier to achieve almost every other goal. Now, it doesn't mean you have to ignore your other goals. Goals are not mutually exclusive. You can focus on many at once. And quite frankly, some of the most powerful people focus on many goals at once. And they achieve a lot all at once, okay? So you could be spiritual and financially stable. Okay, there's many hours in the day, right? And when you stop playing your video games, hashtag I should take my own advice, you can achieve a lot of things and you can focus on many goals. And finally, why is financial stability one of the top threes? Because darn it, money can't buy happiness, but I'd rather do my crying on a beach vacation. You think I'm joking? There has been multiple times over the last few years where I have been so far away from some of my life goals, and it sucked. It was awful, and I felt bad about being so far away from some goals. But you know what I was doing? Sitting on a beach in the Dominican Republic on an all-inclusive resort, watching the waves roll in. And that helped, just a little. So I'd like to finish up with an overview of the typical long-term financial goals of the typical American. Okay, the big financial picture. So what we have is two major periods, and this is for most people, two major periods of their life. Their working years from around 20 to 55, and I say 55 because I want to put that number there as a goal, and then from 55 to 90 in retirement. Now, I obviously know that people retire more at 67 or 70, but I think if you ask them, they would have rather retire around 55 or 60. So let's make that as a goal. Working years and retirement years. Now, while we're in our working years, our big goals are acceptable living. We want to have acceptable living, financial stability, and enough fun so we think that, we're going through life and life doesn't suck. We're having enough fun. Acceptable living, financial stability, and enough fun. Well, this is usually accomplishable, usually because we have a job during the working years and a good income, and money buys these things if we use it wisely. At retirement, our income goes way down, in which we'll talk about. Now, the income goes way down, but we still want the same standard of living. Remember, this was a vocab word. We want to do the same things we did for fun when we were working. So we want the same standard of living. We want the same health care. We still want to go on the same vacations. We still want to eat the same foods. If we were eating out while we were working, we want to eat out in retirement. And you know what? Some people want the goal of possibly even living better, okay? Because you're working, you can't eat out and you can't go on a certain amount of vacations. Well, some people want to retire and go on more. They want to live better than when they were working, okay? At least they want to live on the same. And some of the most, I'm not saying miserable, but some of the most, this is sad, some of the most disappointed people I have ever talked to are retired, and they can't do the same things as when they were working because they don't have enough money to do it. And their standard of living went down, and they really feel kind of bad about it. It's one of the top regrets of living in retirement. So the plan to get this, there's no mystery, people. There's no mystery. The hard part is doing it, but there's no mystery. The plan is to have a strong income while you're working. And with all that money you make, you spend it first on your necessities that you have to spend to live. You fully fund an emergency fund, and you put away money and savings and investing for your retirement when you don't have a job. So you stop working at 55. Where the heck are you going to get that money? Because you saved it while you were working. And any money you have left over after you save for retirement, put into emergency fund and pay for your house and your water and your food, then you can spend on your fund per month. So let's finish up. Okay. The thing that will derail you or keep you from hitting your long-term financial goals will be these financial nightmares. Okay. These nightmares can be defined as things that will break the plan or prevent the plan of achieving your financial goals. Now, a quick aside before I go into these. Oftentimes, I feel slightly bad when someone says they have a smart short-term goal and it's going to lead them down the path of a nightmare. For example, someone says that they want to go to a very, very expensive college to become a teacher. When they say, okay, I'm literally going to get $80,000 in debt to become a high school teacher. And I have to sit there and say, that is going to crush your financial goals. And then they start crying and I start feeling bad. No, I'm not going to feel bad. And they start, you crushed my dream. No, I didn't crush your dream. I don't want to crush your dream. I want to prevent a nightmare. If you are going to be a high school teacher and you accumulate $80,000 to $90,000 in college debt, you will not achieve your financial goals. And if you do, it will because you sacrificed, and you will hate years and years and years of what you have to do to crawl out of the nightmare that someone didn't tell you about. So always remember, I don't want to crush your goals. I want to prevent you from living a nightmare, crush your dreams. And these are some of the big nightmares of financial stability. A low-income job makes financial stability almost impossible. There are plenty of jobs out there, even good jobs, that don't pay enough. A low-income job, you cannot reach financial stability. No health insurance, it might be good for a few years, but if you get hit by a whammy, it'll take away almost everything. So no health insurance is a nightmare. No savings or an emergency fund. Without an emergency fund, you're going to get hit within 10 or 20 years, and it could wipe out everything. Careless spending. If you spend too much, you cannot achieve financial stability. Also on savings is no retirement account. If you do not have a retirement account, you cannot achieve financial stability. Simple as that. Legal trouble. Stay away from jail. It is real tough to achieve your financial goals when you are in jail. Do I really even have to say that? Too much family responsibility when you are unprepared. Family responsibility is time, emotion, money. And if you are unprepared and have too much of it, it's going to make everything so very difficult. Too much house or too much car. We all kind of need a house and kind of need a car. But if you double, triple, or spend 4 times too much on a house or a car, you could be living a nightmare. That's tough to wake up from. And finally, debt. Debt is killer. More than 1 year's worth of income in credit cards, student loans, car debt is too much. 1 year's worth of income you can safely manage. Other than that, it's too much and it's a nightmare. Now remember, house debt is something totally different, as long as it's a reasonable house debt. And these are the major financial nightmares to avoid as you enact your very simple yet hard to do financial stability plan. All right. Thanks for watching.